Yeah. Yeah, we're seeing that already.
But I think the challenge is that everybody got lazy and they got used to making easy buckets, and now no one's giving them alley oops. And they're like, what? I gotta like bring it down the court myself. This is crazy.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think that's a good thing that you just brought up, that we gotta go back to basics and train our people how to work.
Yeah, that's just it. I mean, and I noticed that even in our team, like when we would onboard people in October, November, December, the quality of habits that they built
Yeah.
were substantially different than the people who joined in the spring,
Yep.
right? You just like the people who like cut their teeth in the business during difficult times, develop muscles and habits. But just like anything, if you don't use it, you lose it. So as you know, you see people who kind of fall out of the good habits because they didn't have to,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they're just easy buckets all the time. It's like at some point that laziness becomes the new habit.
Yep.
Right? Because it's just, I don't have to. And then all of a sudden, when the market shifts, you realize, you know, the tide goes out and then we get to see who doesn't have their pants pulled up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's where we got to come in, and we have to be pushing the narrative nonstop, even if it feels like we're bashing our head against the wall, but speaking that language of, you know, this is our process. If you want to be with us on this team and in this group, you must follow this process. If you do not, this is what happens. But you make that choice. And
you can articulate that in a way where it's like you doing that and speaking that out of true care and concern for them, like as a teacher, like, you know, it's like, I'm going to hold you accountable to this, but it's because this is what you need to do for you to be successful. This is what winners do.
Yep.
Right.
No, I agree. We actually, and as much as I didn't like to do this, but I did, I had to shift and focus my energy and time on my top people and the people that, you know, even though I want to give myself to everybody, I want to coach everybody and make everybody awesome, because I know I can. There's not enough hours in the day for me to be able to do that. I need to focus on my leaders and my doers and coach them, train them up, and then they can go out and help those people if they want to be helped, because not everybody wants to be helped. A lot of people want to fail, and you can't fix that.
No, self-sabotage is real.
Oh, it's so crazy. It's so hard for me to be okay with it. I hate it. Come on, guys.
That's a challenge for team leaders, because we're so, as we grow up in the business, we're so used to doing everything one-to-one.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to help you. I'm going to coach you up. I'm going to, you know, do one-on-ones with you. You're going to be my project, whatever.
Yeah.
And the challenge is that's not scalable.
No.
Right. So yeah, at some point you can do that through other people, meaning your lead buyers agents, your lead listing agents, eventually a sales manager who might take your spot. But it's like, I have to be able to transition my thinking from one-to-one thinking to one-to-many thinking.
Yeah.
What does that mean? That means I got to chunk my time. I got to say, okay, for 1 hour a week, I'm going to teach a class on this. For 1 hour a week, I'm going to do this thing. For 15 minutes a day, I'm going to do a little huddle that's going to cover this topic. And like you just chunk your involvement down and then invite people to that. And the people who engage get the benefit, and the people who don't engage become a statistic of the industry, because they're going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. We see that with the Zillow. We had a corporate trainer right now that trains every other week, our team. And it's the same people that show up. It's on their calendar though.
Yep.
There's a team calendar now. Danielle's pretty smart. I never thought of that. There's a team calendar. You all got invited. And those that show up, we take note of that, because I'm on every single one. You know, but doing the little trainings is something I'm going to add in. I need to do that more. I need to get better at that and not focus so much on the lead gen and pushing all of that. That's my.
Let me encourage you, and this is part of what I want to talk about today. I think, let me encourage you, make sure that part of your agent development process is making them market experts.
Yeah.
Like they have to be able to quell the fears of the people that are in their leads bucket.
Yep.
Because if they can't have intelligent conversations that are not hyperbole. They're not just opinion. They're like rooted in fact, and they're just speaking with conviction and confidence. That only comes through understanding and studying the market.
Yep. Every Monday, I agree with you 100%. Every Monday we have our sales meeting, and that's part of it. We'll bring something to the table that we talk about, and our lender has to also take 15 to 20 minutes and do a market update. So they'll talk about what's happening in the market, what's changed. DTI has gone up. Now you can have even more debt and be able to afford to buy more. The government's doing that right now. Crazy, but they're doing it. Which is going to allow our buyers to get between $20,000 and $30,000 more on purchase price. People, you don't see that on the news. They don't talk about that in general to teach you that. You got to be able to give that to your agents at a high level. And so our LO, our lead LO will give that knowledge. And every single Monday before that meeting, I have a huddle with them, and we'll talk about what's working, what's not. And then they'll bring the value of that. And then I'll bring value in on my end, that what we need to talk about to try to push the contracts and get people comfortable. I agree with you 100%. We got to make people feel confident in the market and knowing that, hey, rate might be high right now, but we're going to be able to refi once that comes up, and my lender will actually refi for free. They're not going to charge you anything. That's a big added bonus with working with us. So
there's a lot of pieces to it, and it doesn't have to be super complex, but it is, because there's a lot of variables.
Yeah.
But just your people needing to understand, like, what is the impact the interest rate has on the market and on buyer demand, right? Because the higher the rate goes, the lower the buyer demand in the marketplace. I mean, we've seen that over time. That's been true. Every time we have a little bit of a, half a point price drop, the market activity picks up, and the reverse is true. But also understanding inventory, and then how those two things working together drive home values. And then what's been the historical home value increase? Let's just say, for example, for the last 5 years in aggregate, like, what is the last year, 5 years of home value appreciation? What's it likely to be this year? Probably nothing. Mm-hmm. But all the forecasts have said, starting in 2024 and beyond, that it's going to start going back up again, modestly.
Yep.
Right? But we had a couple of years of just stupid, like, appreciation, and now there's an adjustment year of a couple points before it's going to go back to having, sort of a normal modest appreciation, right? Yeah. So, but being able to articulate that, like, why do we have such inventory problems?
Well, yeah, I mean, people are scared to sell their house. They don't have another place to move to, right? That's why it's happening. But I mean, what we're doing to counter that, we're going after the baby boomer. They're leaving. So our customer base.
If you're trying to find inventory in the market, then finding people who don't need to buy again, that's great.
That's what we're going after. We're going after the baby boomer. They're
pre-foreclosures, probate, baby boomers, retirees, all them. Yeah, that's good. I like that.
So not to, hopefully I'm not getting off the subject a whole lot, but that probate thing that you did was awesome. I was getting my toe into probate, and then I saw that and I got reinvigorated. Now I just need to get the process. I need to get into that and get into that process, mm-hmm. and send it to one of my team agents to own it. And
so whether it's going to be probate or anything else, like, what I would do as a team leader is create the process for your niche, and handle the whole thing from soup to nuts inside your marketing team and your ISA team, until you have a handoff to hand to an agent.
Yep.
And then have like one or two agents that are versed on it. I'll give you an example. So we used to do a lot of cash for homes marketing, like a lot of like, we'll buy your house, cash for your house, whatever. And we had like two of our listing agents that were really, really good at being able to have those conversations, estimate repair amounts and all that, so that they could make intelligent offers. But they were also good at converting those into listings.
Right.
I couldn't do that to any of my listing agents, but two of them were excellent at that.
Killers, yeah.
Right. So the same thing would be of any niche you pick. Like, you're going to end up having a couple of agents that are your go-tos for that niche.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I'm like letting them own the lead gen part of it. I'm going to just hand them the football and ask them to take it across the 1 yard line.
Yeah. So just get it in essence, own the relationship. Once it gets to the point where it's time to get listed, and then they got to have conversations with the agents, let them run that part.
Well, the difference is, and I've seen this with team leaders, the difference is a team leader giving Vulcan 7 to one of their listing agents and saying, here, make phone calls to FSBOs. And they wonder, 6 months from now, why the agent left them. So, well, you didn't add any value. They can go get Vulcan on their own.
Yeah.
But versus what we did, which was we had direct mail campaigns, we had all this other stuff going on, including our own ISA department that was setting up those same appointments for our listing agents. And we were handing them an appointment that we've already warmed up and given a pre-listing packet to, and they're ready to convert.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. We finally started, we're again, following back on what you were talking about. We finally, I think, got our My Business page Google, like, going pretty well. I think we've already picked up 6 clients, and we've only been running it for 3 months. And I just made a couple changes on the back end of the ad spin, because you have the LSA ads, right? But then you can do your own ad spin that's running off of the Google My Business. Just made adjustments on that yesterday and picked up a $500,000 client that actually all the calls go into the office. So it's like old school floor time. And so one of the agents, he's only a year in, he did 24 transactions with me his first year. He picked up the phone, finished. He was like, wow, where did this come from? $500,000 cash he wants to buy like in the next 2 weeks. This is fucking amazing. Excuse me for swearing. Freaking amazing. So it works. It just takes time. That's the tough thing is, like you said, chunking out the time to get each one of these things done, I think is the most important thing that I'm taking away from what you're saying.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I wanted to touch on today, but I think educating our agents to be market experts, making sure we have Keeping Current Matters. We're looking at that, market update video every month. You're downloading the PowerPoint from it. You're redoing it yourself, adding in your own slides from, in your case, Washington, the Seattle markets, right? So that your people also have the local data. So I've got the national data, what's happening, but then I also bring in the local data. And then I can have a real specific conversation with them about what's happening at different market segments. Like these types of properties, this is happening too. Condos, this is happening too. Homes in the suburbs are performing differently than the stuff in the city center. Like you got to be able to kind of nuance your market a little bit with your agents so that they can have intelligent conversation. That's one of the things that we did really well was we dissected our market reports into price ranges so that every $50,000, we could look at that price bracketing and say, okay, here's the month supply of inventory for this market segment because it's different. So what we would find is those mid-market price ranges near the median were always performing way, way, way better than the upper end. Right. But if we get that upper end, top quartile listing that comes to us, we can't have the same conversation about how the market's doing with them as we do the home that's in the median. Because it's a different market. They're in a completely different market because of the price point. So just being able to nuance your local data to where you know what's going on, your people just need to be market experts because if we have the heart of a teacher and we train our people and build that into our culture, that our people have the heart of a teacher and our job is not to convince unmotivated people to be motivated, but our job is to help the motivated navigate the market and educate them, then it's a much different experience to them, right? Everybody wants to be served. Everybody wants to be helped. Everyone wants to be consulted. No one wants to have their arm twisted. right? And so that's, I guess, the approach that we need to have is just a real fact-based, education-based relationship and conversation with these people. Like, how can we consult them? Because they have fears. They all think that they're going to overpay and then the prices are going to drop and then they're going to be stuck. They all think that something's going to happen, bad's going to happen right as soon as they buy, and they're going to have regret. Right? How do we allay those different things? So come up with all the fear reasons why someone may not want to buy right now or may not want to sell right now. And then what's the data points that we can point to? And how do we help them interpret that? Right. So that's really important. So I would get Keeping Current Matters if you don't have it already. Download that PowerPoint once a month, watch that video once a month, repackage it, shorten it up to where it's like a nice little 20-minute presentation, and then just pound that in your agent's head. Give them, a short little slide deck that they could go through with a client when they're talking about interest rates, or what's going to happen to home prices, or what's going to happen to, the market in general. So that's key. Obviously, inventory is a big issue. So as team leaders, we need to make sure that our focus is getting new signs and yards, finding new inventory, even bringing off-market inventory to my buyer's agents. I'm talking about homes that won't list yet or don't want to list yet, but would take an offer, right? You all have a list of those. I'm talking besides FSBOs. Oh, is that what you're showing me, Chris? Your coming soons, right? We all have a list of properties that are either FSBOs or home eval leads that came in that said they want to sell, but they're not quite ready to list. But if you brought them an offer, they would look at it, right? We have those. It's like, you need to have those in a Google sheet shared with your team, right? And not telling people to go share that list, but they need to have that close to the vest and be able to tell their people, hey, look, we have some properties I think you may be interested in, that I could show you that is not hit the market yet. Does that have interest to you? If I found you the home that that you want to buy, would you go buy it right now? Would you go look at it? Those motivated buyers who want that information got to go through you to get it. Right? Let's be the gatekeeper for them. Get a buyer agency agreement, get a compensation agreement with that seller, sign like a little one-time showing agreement for compensation. And then, but let's arm your people who have buyers with off-market inventory they can't find in the MLS or on showing time or whatever. Right? So being able to create inventory, meaning our marketing is focused on listings primarily. Even when it's buyer marketing, we're trying to focus on buyers who have homes to sell, right? So all of our efforts are really trying to find a sign in the yard, or trying to get a sign in the yard. And then let's help facilitate everything we can with our buyer's agents to get to show them where the off-market inventory is. Make it easy for them, like make them a list, a Google sheet. Send them the link every day. Remind them, hey, here's the stuff, or here's some expired listings that we've been calling. They're not ready to relist, but they said they still want to sell. Here they are. Does one of these match your client? Right. I want to share something about recruiting, because then this goes back to mindset, because in every market, we go through cycles of fear and greed, right? Day traders make money on this by the minute. Swing traders make money on this by the day, or a couple of days. Like they make money in cycles. People are greedy, people are fearful. People are greedy, people are fearful. Well, how does that relate to us in our market? Well, you see that right now because the people who can't make it in this business are getting out. They're looking for a job. They're looking for other opportunities. They're open to switching brokerages. They're open to maybe joining a team when they never would have thought they wanted to do that before. Now they feel like they need to out of desperation. I picked up more high quality agents during the years of like 2009 to 2012 than I have ever picked up coming out of the 2008 downturn. Why? Because I was a market presence and I didn't go away, and I never stopped marketing, and they saw me growing and succeeding. and they wanted to get a part of that. And they weren't winning anymore like they had been. So what's going to happen is these agents who are out there in the marketplace who have been doing 20 deals a year on their own, are going to find themselves doing 6 or 7 or 8 deals a year. They're not surviving. They're looking for other opportunities. I say that because right now, don't discount your value. You have a ton of opportunity and a ton of value you can bring to those people to give them income stability, right? To help them provide some stability for their family, right? I think we owe it to those people to do a good job of leading our teams, to do a good job of marketing and generating opportunities for these people to have some staying power. We don't want to lose them like the good ones. We don't want to lose them as a victim of the industry. Let's give them an opportunity so they don't have to get out, right? The weak ones, they're going to go away. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like we see the surplus and the shortage of agents go through on every market cycle. Whenever there's a downturn, all the agents get out of the business. Whenever it's good, all the agents, people get their license. But the good ones, we want to help them stick through this, right? So make sure we're focused on recruiting. Don't take your eye off that ball. Okay. And right now, especially, this is not the time for you as a team leader to be thinking, oh, I want to get myself out of production. If you're thinking that, either you have a great big team and that's okay, or you don't and you're doing that prematurely, right? Instead, what I'd like you to say is, I want to focus on just listings. Stop working with buyers. Give your buyers away. Hand them off personally if you have to, but stop working with buyers. That's a bad use of your time. Working with sellers, however, is an excellent use of your time. There's almost nothing you're going to do that's going to make you more per hour than working with sellers. And you're going to probably be doing that until you're doing 200 and 300 units a year or more, right? Even part-time, even if you have other people helping you. I don't want you thinking I got to get out of production and you got 3 agents on your team. That makes no sense, right? You want to live off of your commissions you earn under the same split structure that you pay your agents. Don't be living off the team profits. It's not smart, especially right now. We want to be hoarding cash. We want to be very profitable. You want to have a very smartly run and lean organization, but make sure that you're focused on listings. But I just wrote a note here. I had 2 people in the last week that I had little side conversations with, and they're like, "Oh, I want to get out of production and focus on whatever." And I'm like, "Oh God, no! Please don't stop selling houses." It's just that's just not smart. Going back to the whole, being a market expert thing. We need to be able to articulate to people why it's a good time to buy. And this is what we have to beat into our buyers agents' heads, is being able to answer that question. And I would come up with a little 30-second, how's the market speech that they can deliver, a little elevator speech that when someone comes up to them at a party and says, "Hey, you're in real estate, how's it going? How's the market? What's," and the next words out of their mouth is like, "Oh my God, it's an amazing time to buy right now." And then boom, boom, boom. Here's why. Why is it a good time to buy? What are those data points? And a big one is because if you're not buying, that means you're renting. And if you're renting, that's going to continue to go up with inflation ad nauseum forever. Right. And at least now we can lock that payment in. That's number one. Number two, if inflation continues to go up, my $500,000 house in 5 years is worth what? Right? Is worth more. And I can do that leveraging the bank's money. I don't have to buy it and pay $500,000 in cash to get, a 5% return. I can leverage the bank's money to do that. So as your dollars become worth less and the home price goes up, it's you'll be glad that you purchased that house, because 7 years from now, when you decide to sell, you're actually in a good equity position. Right? But you got to be able to articulate that. and setting our people up for success there. Already talked about not trying to motivate the unmotivated, but rather educate the people who are motivated. And the only way to do that is just by touching enough people. We're not having enough conversations. Our people aren't having enough conversations. Right now, if you look at the total number of transactions that occur in the marketplace as relative to the number of leads that we have, it's abysmally low. Meaning you got to talk to a lot more people than you did maybe 10 years ago to be able to get a transaction. Right? And maybe back then it was like 12 people or 15 people. I got to talk to 15 people about real estate on the phone before I can actually have a bona fide appointment from someone who wants to buy or wants to sell. Maybe it's 1 to 30 now. I don't know what your math is. I don't know what your lead sources are, but we have to set our expectations and set our agents' expectations that this is going to be a contact sport way more now than it has been the last 3 years. The last 3 years, you've been able to shoot fish in a barrel, and now you can't, right? Now we got to go fishing. We got to go down to the lake, pick a spot, figure out if the fish are there, right? But they're not sitting in a little barrel for us to like shoot at. This is different, right? So we're just getting our mindset as a team leader, getting our agents' mindsets properly set where, hey, look, this is going to be a contact sport, and the people who have the most conversations will have the most closings. The people who have the most conversations will have the most closings. And you can start to have conversations with your people in sales meetings by patting your agents on the back that are having good conversations. Like if you're measuring that on your team, number of conversations per week, valid conversations, like run contests for who had the most conversations this week, right? Reward the activity that's going to get the results. And when people do get results because they took the activities, like give them an attaboy, give them a shout out, right? Because people want to be recognized in public, and you want to reward the behaviors you want to see repeated. So I need to reward the activity, not just the results. Yes, I want them to get excited about having a closing, but I got to get them excited about just doing the mundane, right? Because they're going to get a shout out or they're going to get an attaboy from you guys. I wrote a note here regarding the inventory. Don't ignore old expireds. If you have these in your database, go back and dig through those. You have old expireds in there that probably deserve some phone calls, especially the ones from like 18 months ago, 24 months ago or before. Like that data exists. Go find the ones that never relisted. And have conversations about, doing a free equity analysis for them. Like they have gone up by 200% in some cases over the last 10 years. Most of them on average have gone up at least 50, if not 60% in the last 2 or 3, right? Depending on your market. I just saw a map of it around the United States. I think the average for the last 3 years was around 58% across the country. Right. So just being able to offer them an equity analysis. Say, let me, you may be well surprised what's happened over the last couple of years since you took your home off the market. Because they have been shooting for a number that wasn't possible back then, but it is now. Yeah. Right. So last thing I'll leave you guys with before we're going to open it up for more discussion is just emotional mastery, not just ours. Obviously, we have to lead that way, but our agents as well.
Yeah.
And this is the hardest piece of this because it's the human condition, right? It's the human condition. Like when people are deploying a computer program, the computer program's unemotional. It's going to calculate every single day without fail unemotionally. But humans But humans, we're making decisions on whether we're going to prospect today, door knock today, show up today, go to the gym today, based on how we feel. And feelings are super fickle, right? And it's like, that's the difference between what you want most and what you want now. And most people will choose comfort now as opposed to what I want the most, which is success. Everyone wants to be successful. Nobody wants to get up and go to the gym. Everybody wants that 6-pack abs. No one wants to go and work out for 2 hours. Right. And it's the same thing with our agents. And we have to be able to coach them through that and get them to recognize that themselves. Like, this is the long game. The people who win have the mindset of a farmer. They're just unemotionally getting up and going to work every single day, knowing there's going to be a harvest 6 months from now. Right? Instead of this short term, I feel like it, I don't feel like it. I feel like it, I don't feel like it, based on whether or not I won recently or not. You guys feel me? It's like that piece of it is so hard because it touches every one of us. We're all, it's the human condition. We're all just kind of focused on the thing that we want now, which is usually comfort. Versus the thing we want most, which is, long-term success. And our agents are no different. So just helping them manage their personal levels of disappointment. They worked hard all week and they didn't get an escrow. They worked hard all week and they don't see any results. How do you keep them engaged? How do you keep them leaning in and not falling out of motivation? Take the result off the table. That's the best advice I could give anybody is don't be focused on the outcome, be focused on the activity. The activity produces outcomes. And sometimes you feel like you're winning, sometimes you feel like you're losing, and sometimes you just don't feel either one. Right? But can you manage those levels of disappointment and have consistent activity that will long-term produce results? It's that compound effect, right? The compounding effect will never work for you or your agents if your activity levels are like this, like a roller coaster. That's why I have this little slide up here on my whiteboard for today, right? This represents most people's emotional motivation day to day. It's just one day. Right? But we have to keep them, as their leader, my job is to keep their eyeballs focused on the thing that's going to help them get results and stay focused long term. So whatever you have to do, what we used to do in our call center is have a little bell so people could ring a bell when they set an appointment. We'd have a crazy casino colored carpet on the floor that was just sort of like a fun carnival. It's kind of crazy, but it's like the room looked like a carnival, but that was our call center.
I love it.
Create an environment, maybe a little music bumping in the background, something, keep them motivated, keep them excited. Give them pats on the back and reward the activity and talk about the activity publicly in your sales meetings. Those shout outs, that will help encourage that behavior to keep going until they get a win. Right? They won't need that as much when they get an escrow. Then they'll be excited again. Right? But I got to keep them excited until. During down markets, I used to tell my agents, I said, our job with these sellers is to keep them happy until something happy happens. Right? Mm-hmm. And the same thing is true of our agents. Like, can I keep them engaged emotionally into the activity until they get a win? So anyway, that's what I had for you guys today. What resonated with you guys?
I mean, all of it did. I love it. I'm excited. I'm ready to go get back out. Get after. Yeah, man. The one thing that I just want to touch on, just two things that actually super resonated with me, is that old listing situation is a big thing with us. And what we do to find free leads, this is free. and I think I talked about this before, is go back 5, 6, 7 years on your MLS and look at old expireds, canceled, sale fail releases, and just check the tax records. It's 3 clicks and you can see if it changed hands. If it hasn't, a lot of agents leave their client's phone number on the listing. Call them. That's what we do. That's what I train for my team. That's why we get, I got a brand new agent that gets, he's got 7 listings coming up. That's the guy who's only been with me for 12 months. So, but call them. And us as team leaders, we can still go do that ourselves, or you can show these guys how to do it. And then what I do is I train and help them how to do the listing side. And if they fit well in it, they become a listing agent. If they don't fit well in it, we'll know right away. And then maybe they're just going to be a buyer's agent, and then the other big thing that I really push is we don't go for money, right? So we don't do this for transaction or commission. We do it for the relationship. So my coaching and my direction and thought process is, hey, when we're out working, let's work to build a really strong rapport and relationship with our client and our vendors, and the money's going to come. And it does.
Great point.
And that's what we forget. We forget that we're doing this for the relation, and it's going to be hard. It's even hard for me to sometimes say it, but we're doing it for the relationship. And if we can focus on the relationship side of it, the customer service, the communication, like you said, Mike, you got to have a lot of conversations. But if we can focus on that and make it relationship based, not so much sales based,
right?
That's the process. But the main focus is the relationship. You will crush it. I promise. Every single team leader will crush it. And even agents that are on here would kill it. Promise. And that's our main focus, is that we help people in real estate, but we do it through the relationship side of it. The commission, the contract, that's all part of the process. But the main focus is the relationship. That's how you get all the referrals.
So true. I had agents who would kind of turn their nose on going to show a tiny little house, like a rental property.
Yep.
Because they didn't want to take the time to go show it because it wasn't worth the commission. Yep. And I'm thinking to myself, and I tell them, like, you don't know who these people know. You don't know who their parents are. You don't know who they are. That might be a rental property, but that, like, they live in an affluent area, and you're going to, like, build that relationship. To your point, it's like you're adopting not just them as a client, you're adopting their network.
Yes.
Right. It's like, I want to be that network's agent of choice for everyone they know. And I want them singing their praises, because they're going to tell the story of how this guy showed up and helped them, even though it was a tiny little property, help them make this purchase.
Yes.
And now they're telling their parents, who are local physicians, and now they're telling all their people that they went to college with. And then next thing you know, you just turn that into 7 transactions.
Yeah. And this is, you just reminded me of a story that happened last week. We had a lead come in, 180,000 land. Oh, land, horrible. My agents are trained not to treat it like that. Get to know them, build rapport. What's their why? Why are you looking for land? Why do you want to build? They went out and met this guy. Turns out this guy works for the government, and he's a commercial builder. And it went from 188,000 to 4.5 million. And so he's buying a $4.5 million home. And he wanted to build his dream home. But after the conversation was had and we figured out his why, and we know everything about him now, he's looking for up to 4.5 million. So you just got to spend that time and slow down. It's tough because we've been in this hamster wheel for so many years, but slow down and build relationship rapport. And you guys we already know how to do our job really well, but the communication side is, I think is a lost leader for a lot of us, because it was so easy and we just moved nonstop. But take that time and train that. And you're like you said, you're going to own that person's database, and then the next people that they send you their database too.
Just to add on to the vacant land thing, everybody forgets that you buy $100,000 lot and then you build a $2.2 million house on it. So
yeah, dude.
helping somebody out with a lot. It's just a long-term play.
Agree. Done that a lot in my years.
Especially if you have relationships with builders and you can bring the builder to the table too.
Yeah.
The builders will pay you all day long.
We had a meeting yesterday, last story, because this is crazy too. This goes back to just exactly what you're talking about. We had a meeting with two developer investors that have not bought anything, and we've been talking to them for 2 years. And we're almost ready to pull the trigger. Came in, we sat down with them, didn't talk about business at first. Spent an hour just talking and getting to know one another a little bit more face to face. And at the end, he was like, "What do you know about commercial real estate?" I was like, yeah, I know about commercial real estate. What do you know about default? I go, that's my background. Okay, I have a friend who has like a $30 million commercial property. They have some problems right now. Can you talk to them? Of course I can. So that's just from taking, and it was a 2-hour conversation where, the old me probably would have been like, I don't got time for this shit. But I'm going back to basics. I'm going back to slowing down and having really good conversation, high level, to get to know people, to spend time with them. And then stuff like that's going to come from it.
Yeah, it's like we have to be very keen about staying in activity to touch a lot of people. But when you do touch people, go deep. Like when you get someone on the phone, build rapport, build relationship, go 5 levels deep with your questions, like really, really understand them. You'll be in such rapport, they don't want to start over with someone else.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Because what do people want more than anything else? They want connection, obviously, but they want to be understood.
Listen to, yeah, 100%.
They want to be understood.
Yeah.
Do they feel understood after having a phone conversation with your agent? It's a good question.
Yeah, I like that.
So, any other takeaways? People want to chime in? Good to see you, Francis. Brett, what's going on? Got our Cabo crew. Drew,
Hi.
Hey,
what's
yeah,
up?
no, this is great. We have our 9 o'clock meeting, so we try to hop in right after this. I realized it hadn't been on the calendar, so we've been missing you guys, and it was great to see you guys in Cabo too.
Yeah, likewise. We've been missing you guys.
We'll have to move our meeting for sure.
Okay, cool.
I like what you said, Mike, about keeping them engaged and like how we said, making it fun, like playing the music and getting them excited and acknowledgement, and you have to keep them excited, or else they'll just fuzzle out and fade away.
Yep.
So keeping them excited and kind of being their cheerleader and like, we got this, like, what are you doing? What's not working? What are you saying, that's not getting you to the next, the next thing. And that's the one thing we always say is like, you have to make that connection. Do they know, like, and trust you? Then they'll do business with you. So really getting into their why and getting into their world of why are they moving and what's the life circumstances that are happening, and really listening to what their needs are.
I was on a call yesterday with, I think it's John Holcomb. He's like the kite surfer, he's in EXP, and he's starting the Pro Insight, basically this network of professionals in there. And they shared kind of on this scale yesterday, where are you on kind of the scope of things? And are you very expensive? Are you more relational? Are you transactional? Are you the cheaper end? Right? It's almost like this blue ocean schedule of knowing where you are and realizing where your client's at. Are you drifting closer to them? And are you attracting them? Are you resonating with them? And I think we were like, in this box where I realized have gone more transactional as a team, coming from boutique. And then, what is that? Is that because we've gone away from the handwritten letter, or we have gone away from the really customized gift, and really coming back to, like Chris said, like, cool, let's get more here again. I'm coming back to the basics and just kind of doing a check-in and overall assessment. So that was really eye-opening for us to see, we're not discounting, so we're not going so cheap. We're not the most expensive and doing the 7% and never discounting commission, and does that fit with where we want to be and where our clients are right now? So that was a cool little assessment to do. And then also, are we referable in this group? And it was, are we being functional? Are we, under promising and over delivering? and reliable and, you know, following through, just being polite all the time, every time. And then just, you know, are we the most knowledgeable and knowing, you know, and revisiting things like this and becoming, you know, back to the table and just continuing to learn. So that all kind of resonated right in line with what you guys are talking.
Well, and I think that resonates with your culture too, because you guys being the fam group, it's like you want to bring your clients into your family, you know, and you want to give them that experience like they're working with family, like they have a connection, they have a home with you, right? And so building that relationship comes super natural for you guys. Just getting your agents to adopt that and really buy in to the relational piece of it will make their prospecting results so much better, because they're going to go deeper and they're not going to come off salesy, and they're going to be much more of an educator, much more of a coach and a teacher for the client, as long as we're arming them with enough data and ways to interpret the data. Because the clients can see the data. I could ship them over spreadsheets or charts, but I don't know what that means to them. They don't know what's going to happen after today's date. Like, what's the forecast? Like, what do we think's going to happen next? Right. So being able to interpret the data for the client and do it from a place of rapport, and almost doing a takeaway as if you buying or selling isn't really, I'm not attached to that outcome. Like, if it's not the right time for you to buy, then it's not the right time for you to buy, you know, according to you. I just want them to feel like they've made a good decision.
Yeah. There was an interesting study done. I used to serve tables around servers. Repeating your order back to you and giving you this little piece of candy increased your tip by about 25%. So if we look at that candy as the gift, you know, the side gift, and coming from this place of understanding, repeating back to them what they said, you know, in the script, the same thing. It gives them that feeling, oh, they heard me. You understood what? It almost takes people by shock. You know, shakes them up because no one's doing that. It's that human condition you talked about.
Yep.
We're great all here and we got it all here, but we forget. We send our agents out into the world and it's like, what happened on that call? Like, you have to go back and listen almost every time, because you're right. They fall back into the environment, which isn't this little bubble that we talk about and we create and we live. You know, we forget. They get shut off. And I'm listening to a call. I'm like, that was not even the script. You did not get into anyone's world. Francis does it naturally, and we assume that we're teaching it and preaching it, but to have to go back and listen to it constantly is so important.
It's like, can you give them that virtual hug through the phone line?
Yeah.
Right.
Francis says there's tiers at 9 out of 10 listen appointments, but that's not our agents, right? And so it's really finding what are their tiers? What is their version of getting into, like you said, their why, they're passionate. Besides work, what are you passionate about? And teaching them that they're just going to give you some standard answers for the first one or two. It's not till the third one that you ask deeper, that once you have that, like you guys said, it's over. I was part of Renatus's huge real estate investment, for the largest one in the country. They threw out all their scripts literally for, besides work, what are you passionate about? And that just blew up everything for what they were doing. And people aren't, you know, that self-awareness and that kind of way of doing business wasn't really, you know, part of the spin selling, so to speak. It is, it's just a different fashion.
Yeah, open-ended questions have a great way of getting them to talk about whatever's on their mind, whatever's on their heart. And I love to just kind of let them go a little bit with it and then like poke at it a little, let them go deeper, because that deepens the level of rapport, even if it doesn't feel like it's taking them necessarily in the direction of selling a piece of real estate at the moment. We'll circle back to that in the conversation if it's appropriate, but it's like, I need to be able to go down this road with them on this journey to deepen the relationship and deepen the rapport, right? Because that's what they want to talk about. That's what they're excited about. But I like that question. That's really good. Good stuff. Who else has got something they chime in about?
Not really something to chime in about, just where's the best place to get better recruiting skills?
Better recruiting skills?
Yep. You know, how to talk to agents correctly, because apparently I'm too rough on them. I actually expect them to show up 40 hours a week. How dare I?
Well, I think first of all, kind of going back to what we talked about a little bit ago with clients, we don't want to spend time trying to motivate the unmotivated. But when you're dealing with people who have a problem that needs solved, whatever that might be an agent who's not making it, who's looking for income stability, and it may be someone who's not yet in real estate, but who desperately wants to be full-time in real estate so they can quit working at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Right? It's like, who is this person and are they motivated? Like, do they have a problem that needs solving that only I can solve? But if we're dealing with motivated people, and I'm not trying to convince the unmotivated, then you're going to have a much, much easier time with a recruiting conversation. So think of your
Shut the door, please.
recruiting funnel, if you will, as a sifter. Right? We're looking for people who want consistency of income, who are looking maybe for an easy button, for a sense of belonging and community that only I can provide. That's a piece, Parnell, that doesn't boil down to a spreadsheet. That means that you as a leader have to grow in that way, right? You have to be able to make them feel that you care about them. For a D, that
Right.
doesn't come naturally, right? But this
Yeah.
is part of the growth process of every leader, is to show up in a way that they can hear you. Because relationships are so important with your agents, but it's just the same if I'm in a listing appointment with a client. If I'm in a listing appointment with a client, through matching and mirroring, I'm matching tonality, I'm matching pace and tempo and word choices. I'm going to echo back words that they've been using. It's just kind of subconscious at this point in my
Okay.
career. It's like, you do the same thing with your agents. How do I behave in such a way, create an environment in such a way that my agents are going to thrive? And that may mean that you have to be a little bit out of your normal character that you've been playing when you show up as a leader for your team. Like to what Francis said, creating a fun environment, creating
Right.
excitement and motivation and things like that. If you just show up as the drill sergeant, that's going to turn off a high number of people. But if they realize they can get the result through affiliation with you, and they can have fun belonging to this community that you've created, this family that you've created, they will very often will come along. But let's not try and convince the unmotivated.
Right.
So
Can I dovetail on that, Mike?
yeah, man.
It was everything. When I came on, Francis put me in this position. We went from 6 to 30. Big mistake. I thought we could just have a system that plugs into it. We're back down to 7. And it was drive, the need to achieve, and the competitiveness that they're just born with. And I think it was Matt Rand. He's the CRM Grow. He said, "Man, Brett, I used to do these calls. I used to do all this stuff. I used to provide." He's like, "But now," he's like, "I figured out the ones with drive just go." Kind of like me and Francis. Mike doesn't give me extra little nudges and trophies or everything. I'm going. Like, I don't need that stuff. Like, when you have drive and you have vision and what you want, like, you don't have to do that. And with Francis, it was coaching her around to have these accountability conversations, and it was taking all the wrong out of it because she thought she was kind of being the mean person. And I was like, we just revisit what they said is important. Cool. Do you still want this life and what you said? Is that still important? Are we good there? Awesome. Do you see what I see on this activity? And we agreeing? Awesome. How can I support you? And that was it. She didn't have to get out of that conversation, which is the 2 things. Identify it's still important. This is what I'm seeing. Are you seeing that? How can I support? And now if we have to have that conversation 3 times,
That
we probably
framework
end up
is
on our
awesome.
modern team.
That framework is awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
That's strong. Did you get that, Parnell? That was good.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
A part of it, I'll piggyback off of this from our conversation last week about the 7 levels of communication. For those of you who were there, like there's that distinction he makes between marketing and communication, where marketing is talking at people. And I think a lot of times it happens with clients. It's like, oh, you want to sell your house? You want to buy a house? Well, okay, now I know, let me talk at you and tell you all the ways I can do that for you. And so we stop the listening, we stop seeing and hearing them. And it happens all the time in recruiting. You want to come to my team? Great. Now I'm going to talk at you. And that ability to really be in communication, in conversation, which is what we mean by that word, but we don't always do it when we show up with the person, and we get into too much talking at them about all the benefits or the features or, you know, all of that. And we're not really listening for what it is they want, for what it is that motivates them, their whys, things like that, that will right away help us know, one, whether or not they're a good fit at all, right? And if they are a good fit, then listening into that so that you're responding out of whatever it is that's already going to drive them. Because as Mike has said many times, this comes up often on our team business mastery calls, it's like beating your head up against a wall, trying to motivate somebody who's not wanting to be motivated, or coach somebody who's not coachable. Like, we can't change, we can't rescue, we can't save the people that, even if we see the potential, if they're not doing the work, then it's just a mismatch. They're not ready yet, whatever. We don't, I quit trying to figure it out or explain it. I just know they're not right for me. And so I've got to offboard them.
I've
But
had
you could go, Parnell, you could do a whole little funny social media campaign about what a beast you are, you know, and you want 40 hours and blah, blah, blah. And there's going to be agents in your market that are like, oh my gosh, I've been looking for that.
Zach is one of those on my team. He thrives on just being held accountable and competition. You put them in there too soft over here, they don't really like it. You're right.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that's good. I heard one time a coach told me, he says, I lean into the people that are leaning into me. Right.
Mhm.
And as a leader, and this is what Chris, you and I were talking about earlier, we can't take on the personal responsibility of everyone on a one-to-one basis, because it'll end up sucking all your time and resources with those individuals on a one-on-one basis. I have to be able to deliver my support one to many as much as possible. As you grow and scale your team, you have to do that. Now, somebody, preferably a lead buyer's agent, can have that one-on-one relationship and support, or a mentor, but you as a team leader need to, as much as you can, stay one on many. What does that mean? It means you got to create boundaries around your time. You got to chunk down the resources that you're delivering to them, and when you deliver it, and do it in a Zoom setting or a classroom setting or a conference room once a week, like being able to chunk that down to where you're delivering the support and the value and the accountability, but you're doing that one to many. The people who lean in, the people who show up for your training calls, those are the people that are going to get fed. What about the rest of them? Sadly, that was their choice, and they're going to become a statistic because of it. And I can't fix that. That means I got to go recruit more people. That's it.
It sounds crazy, but sometimes it's a sabotage. It's a setup. They actually do this. And I've had witnessed a few of them, these victims that come in, and I'm like, you got everything. I don't know what you're doing. And they're creating themselves so that they can be a victim. And I forget about those people and they come out of nowhere.
Yeah, we had 12 agents. We're down to 2 besides Megan and I. They just didn't want to work.
Out those 12 would just drain you like vampires if they're still
So-
around. That's what mine were doing. All they had was what was going wrong in their life and what they couldn't have and didn't do. And then I'd look at their activity in Sisu and it was just crickets, right? There's no action.
Yeah.
Door knocking, no calling, no social media. Those are the only things, we can do is provide that.
Yeah, we
And
can't
that's just it.
save everybody.
Sorry. Yeah, they
Yeah.
drain the energy out of us. And trying to recruit
Yeah,
new
it
ones
was-
just feels
It
brutal.
was interesting in Cabo. I was listening to Matt Smith, right? That's his name, the guy from Missouri. And
Yeah.
you said he did 900 transactions with 19 agents. And that just really made me think, because it's like, I'm in the same boat as you guys, where I've had 20, 25 agents, and now I'm down to 7. And it's like, it was so many of the wrong people and investing in them. And so it's like, really got me thinking, if you could do 900 transactions with 19 agents, if you just get the right people that get it, want it, and have the ability to execute, it's a game changer. But you really got to know how to find those people and get them on or off quickly once you get them on, and realize if they're the right person.
That's exactly the point, Drew. It's like, I wish he would have said how many people he had to hire, train, onboard, put through a 100-day onboarding process, give leads to, in order to see them wash out, in order to find the 19 that are producers, right? Because that's a big number.
He does a weekly, Matt Smith does a weekly thing on whatever EXP's thing. I think he said that he had went through 150 people before he found the 19 that worked. But I could be wrong. He could have been talking about something else, but I think that's what he had gone through.
That was about right. I remember him saying that too.
Yeah, that math makes sense to me. It's the kind of that 80-20 principle that we talk about.
Yeah.
That's why offboarding and not rescuing is so important, because that process, I mean, there's no way to, in my experience, completely eliminate that process. You're never going to hire 100%, get really nail that. But the faster you can see it in them, see the truth of it, give that chance to coach up, coach out, and get them out of there, just the less draining it is on you and the rest of your team, because they do drain the rest of the team members in varying ways. So there's a high cost to pay. So just the faster you can get through that. And that's where we get tripped up by that personal sense of like wanting to save somebody or seeing that potential and you want to get it out of them, but you're seeing something they're not ready to see, or they would be coaching up.
If you guys are taking notes, or if you have a whiteboard or sticky notes near you, I want you to write something down. Write this down. The quality of my team will be from the quantity of my recruiting. The quality is in the quantity. To find the quality, I have to go through the quantity. And that's going to set your mindset properly around what's it going to take to go and have 10 killers on my team. You're going to have 100 people, right? You're going to have to go through.
It's the same in attraction too, right? They said most of those teams have one just killer, one big builder, and with the 1,000 or 10,000 or 2,000, there's one or two people that really led that whole piece.
Yeah, it's true in EXP with agent attraction. It's true in production on your team. The people who ascend into leadership roles within your team, it's like they are few and far between. But you have to talk to and get in front of and onboard and work with enough people to get people through a process to determine who the winners are, who the leaders are, and give them an opportunity, because they're all looking for leadership and opportunity. So,
Yeah.
All right, guys, I got to go. Great to see all of you. And for those who didn't make it Cabo, I'll see you there next year.
Yes, for sure.
With
Thanks.
me. So, all right, guys, take care. It's good to see you.
Bye, guys. Adios.